After finishing near the bottom of the pack in almost every statistical category, it's no secret that the Jets are going to try and focus on the offensive side of the ball this offseason. One of the players we're going to have to try and decide on is going to be Quincy Enunwa. This is Jets Talk. J-E-T-S, Jets, Jets, Jets! Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Guys, don't forget to tune in every Monday night for our live stream. I do call-in shows, so if you guys have any questions about any of these contracts or free agent moves, call in to the call-in show 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock every Monday night. Let's jump right into the video. Quincy Enunwa was drafted out of Nebraska in the 2014 NFL Draft by John Idzik, and last season signed a 4-year extension worth $36 million with $9 million fully guaranteed at signing. This works out as $9 million per year over the course of the contract, so overall this puts him as about the 27th highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. So on face value, not that bad of a contract. But the issue has really come in terms of injuries. Over the course of his career, outside of his first season he didn't really play with the Jets too much. He has played in 39 of 80 games, so he's missing more than half the games that he has been on the roster for, so not really what you want to get out of a newly signed player. Luckily, the Jets should be able to cut him now that all his guaranteed money has been paid out. Except for one thing. Mike Maccagnan did something really stupid. Maccagnan decided to put an injury clause into a player's contract who has missed more than half the games for us. And this is just one of those contracts that basically got Maccagnan fired. Now, when you look at Quincy's deal, yes, it's $9 million fully guaranteed at signing, but he had injury clauses that kick in if he is on the roster and unable to pass a physical, which would guarantee him his salary for the next year. That wouldn't be a huge issue if it wasn't for the fact that he is always injured. This is literally the worst type of clause you could have in this particular player's type of contract. If Quincy is able to pass a physical before the 5th day of the new league year, which turns out to be March 22nd, I think is the deadline for that, the Jets would be able to cut him and save $2.4 million against the cap. So, a little bit of cap savings there. But unfortunately, with this last neck injury, I have a hard time believing that Quincy's ever really going to be able to play again, and I don't think he's ever going to be able to actually pass a physical again. Which means, thank you, Mike Maccagnan, the Jets are going to be on the hook for the full $7.8 million that Quincy Enunwa is owed. Now, for us Jet fans, that's a real big shot in the gut in terms of his productivity that we've gotten since he signed that deal. Over the cap estimates his projected value should be about $156,000, which for your reference is 3 times less than the veteran minimum. So this guy has not been able to produce enough return to actually justify even a league minimum type contract. So how are the Jets going to proceed? As far as receiving threats go, the Jets are going to have Crowder, Herndon, Griffin, Vincent Smith, and Bell all under contract for the 2020 season. Robbie Anderson is a free agent this year. He's got his own set of issues as far as what I think could happen with that. I'll make another video on that in the future. So more than likely, Jets are going to have to look outside of their team to look for a replacement for Quincy. I'm not going to spend this entire video trying to go over all the potential options at wide receivers because there's a lot of trades and a lot of free agent things that could happen. Amari Cooper's out there. I would love to get him. Don't really think that's going to be a likely situation. I don't see Amari Cooper wanting to come to the Jets when he can pick literally any team. Like, even if we overpay, every team's going to have a ton of cap space. The salary cap's only going to go up, so it's not like the Jets are one of the only teams with a lot of cap. We only have about $50 million in cap, so I don't see that actually happening. As far as our options go, Sammy Watkins is someone I'd like to keep an eye on. He has a $21 million cap hit for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they have about $22 million in cap space. Figure they need about $8 million to sign their draft class, so that's going to put them right up against the cap threshold. If they cut Sammy Watkins, they can save $14 million against the cap, so more than likely, based on the production that they've seen out of him, I would have to say this guy's probably going to get cut. He'll be 27 years old at the start of next season, and largely has been a pretty big disappointment throughout his NFL career outside of his second season. He's really battled with injuries and just kind of staying consistently productive in any offense that he's been, and this past year, he received the worst grade of his career by Pro Football Focus. Another player that I think we could look at, not that I think it's overly realistic that it happens, is Stefon Diggs. The Vikings are set to be $3.5 million over the cap next year. Again, they'll need about $8 million just to sign their draft class, so they're way over the cap in terms of that threshold. So looking at players that they could potentially trade or cut is something that we're going to have to look at. And Diggs could save $5.5 million against the cap if he gets traded. The team trading for Diggs would have cap hits of 11.5, $12 million, and $12 million over the course of the next 3 seasons. So when you think about what Robbie Anderson's going to wind up getting, someone who I would say most people would probably think Diggs is the better receiver of the two. Robbie Anderson's probably going to get more than $12 million a year. He wants reported as much as like $15 million a year, which I think is a little bit crazy for what you're getting out of him. So Diggs could potentially be an option if the Jets wanted to give up a trade. I don't know what the Jets would actually want to do because we need a lot of young talent, so I don't see this as being a realistic possibility for us, but I think a early second-round pick or maybe a late first-round pick probably is what gets this done if you want to bring Diggs onto your roster. Another player to look at is Marquis Lee. He's been on IR the last 2 seasons, so really an injury-prone receiver, but I think as far as contract-wise, he'd be a pretty cheap option for us. He does have the potential to be a good receiver, but going from Quincy Enunwa, who's always injured, to Marquis Lee, who's always injured, probably not always the best way to go about things. The Jaguars are, $1.5 million over the cap. Again, they need $8 million to sign their draft class, so they're going to need to make some cuts in this, offseason as well. And Marquis Lee is going to save them about $5.25 million against the cap. Now, I don't think there's going to be too many suitors for him, so if the Jets want to bring in a relatively cheap, high upside guy, maybe this is an area that we could look to upgrade in. As far as the most likely outcome for me, I would have to say Demaryius Thomas would really be my number one option. Obviously, he worked with Gase in Denver as well as with the Jets last year, and the Jets gave up a 6th-round pick in 2021 for him, so we have a little bit of draft capital invested into him already. He only cost us $3 million last year, and I could see us signing him for roughly about the same thing. I think $3 million on a 1-year deal should probably get it done. By and large, this is an area that I think I'd like the Jets to address in the draft, whether it be their first-round pick or their second-round pick. There's a lot of really good wide receivers that I think could replace either a Robbie Anderson or an Enunwa type player. Guys, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Do you want to see us go towards the draft, or would you rather us trade or sign a free agent? Let me know everything in the comments down below, and as always, go Jets.